public will have 1 minute per agenda item for a maximum of 2 minutes total. At the request of the speaker will be given 1 additional minute for general public comment for a maximum of 3 minutes total. The order of speakers will be a speaker in the room will go first, then we will take a speaker watching today's meeting on Zoom. We will alternate between the speakers in the room and Zoom for a total of 45 minutes. Members of the public who participate in public comment are reminded that they can speak to any item on the agenda or a matter within the jurisdiction of the board of police commissioners. Public comment is your opportunity to address the board. You are free to express your opinions on matters before the board and to generally express when you disagree with other opinions expressed. However, directing your comments to other individuals who have spoken or attacking others who have expressed their opinions shall be deemed off topic, and your public comment period will be concluded. Members of the public, if you choose to participate in the public comment portion of the agenda, you can participate in this meeting in a number of ways outlined on the agenda. Message for those attending the meeting in person. These meetings are regular meetings between the board, the department, and key stakeholders. Meetings of the Board of Police Commissioners are open to the public. The state's Ralph M. Brown Act affords the public the opportunity to be present at the meetings, hear the presentations and dialogue in real time, and provide feedback via the public comment period. During these meetings, there's a need for the board to carry out public business expeditiously without delays or disruptions. Members of the audience should not engage in any conduct which causes an actual disruption of the meeting. Those attending in person are reminded that disruptive behavior will be cause for removal. If you disrupt this meeting, you'll be provided with only 1 warning to cease disruptive behavior. If you fail to cease such behavior, you will be removed from the meeting. All attendees must be seated. Failure to follow this rule will result in a warning and or removal from the meeting. With that, we move to item number 1, the report of the Chief of Police, Chief Randall.
Good morning, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here before you.
This guy.
The group here.
He used to be Chief Moore's right-hand man.
As Chief McDonald does every week, I'll be discussing significant events for the previous week, providing a crime update, and discussing our personnel strength. I'll note that we had no officer-involved shootings or categorical uses of force during the previous week. Year to date, we've had 2 officer-involved shootings in comparison to 3 this same time last year, for a reduction of 33%. I'd like to talk about the Palisades fire, if you'll allow me. Over the past week, we've continued to dedicate resources to the Palisades fire area while working to gradually return officers to normal patrol operations. Due to ongoing deployment needs, the city has remained on tactical alert. Each day, we assess the situation alongside our city partners to determine when and where we can safely reopen these areas.
It's gonna be a long day, guys.
And reallocate resources.
I gotta go into a court case
As
after
of
this.
February 3rd, 2025, PCH has reopened to the public with a single lane open in each direction. However, with the rain, the forecast, conditions remain subject to change based on safety assessments. And in fact, today at 1500 hours, we'll be limiting that to just emergency workers. And that's per Caltrans. So that's been updated. And we anticipate that'll be open, or I'm sorry, it will be closed with what they call a soft closure through perhaps Friday, depending on how the rain goes. But we are expecting some water and debris flow across PCH, causing a safety hazard. The National Guard is maintaining checkpoints to ensure that only residents can enter those restricted areas along PCH. And the CHP is also assisting on those checkpoints and supporting our overall crime suppression efforts. The LAPD continues to maintain a crime suppression detail in the Palisades, along with CHP, to ensure public safety. We urge those, however, that do not reside in that area to please stay out as we work towards a safe and structured reopening. I'd like to talk about yesterday's immigration protest that we all saw probably on TV.
I was there.
And we handled in person. On Sunday, February 2nd, we had approximately 3,000 demonstrators that gathered downtown for a protest regarding immigration. Throughout that day, a group periodically splintered into smaller fractions, moving through the civic center and surrounding streets before reconvening in front of City Hall. Vehicle convoys also participated, with drivers waving flags and circling the area. At about 12 p.m. on that day, a large group entered the 101 freeway, and the California Highway Patrol was notified and responded. While many protesters returned to City Hall, others remained at key intersections, and approximately 300 demonstrators stayed on the freeway, while another 600 gathered on adjacent sidewalks and overpasses. The LAPD coordinated with CHP to clear the freeways and deploying officers to redirect the groups. Protesters splintered again, and then some occupying the 6th Street Bridge and others returned to City Hall. At approximately 5:20 p.m., CHP officers initiated a help call after being struck by thrown objects, and an unlawful assembly was declared. LAPD deployed a mobile field force to clear the area. Following dispersal, a smaller group reassembled, I should say, at Cesar Chavez Avenue and Alameda Street, requiring a second mobile field force deployment. The crowd was eventually dispersed without further escalation. Instant summary from that event was we had 5 officers sustain minor injuries. We had, as far as use of force, we had 3 rounds of 37 millimeter and 5 rounds of 40 millimeter that were deployed on the crowd, and we had some arrests. We had 1 felony vandalism arrest for damage to an MTA bus. We had 1 arrest for assault with a deadly weapon when this person threw objects at officers. We had 4 vandalism reports for police officer vehicle damage, which included slashed tires. And we had 1 crime report for pointing a laser at officers. So now fast forwarding to yesterday's event, yesterday's protest. At approximately 9 a.m., a group began gathering in front of City Hall to protest regarding immigration. And by 10:15, the group initiated a march with approximately 600 demonstrators. At approximately 12:25 hours, members of the marching group began vandalizing property and spray paint along Figueroa Street between Temple Street and Cesar Chavez Avenue. As the group continued towards City Hall, splitter groups began breaking away, and by 1:10 p.m., the group size had increased to approximately 800 pedestrians and 200 vehicles. Some individuals climbed freeway signs at LA Street and the 101 freeway, prompting grave safety concerns, as you might imagine. By 2:15 p.m., demonstrators had breached the barriers at City Hall and continued to vandalize the area. Half an hour later, at 14:45 or 2:45 p.m., protesters began conducting vehicle burnouts and setting off fireworks along Spring Street between First Street and Temple Street. That crowd size had grown between 800 and 1,000 individuals. At approximately 3:30, the incident commander requested additional resources. As yesterday progressed, that crowd grew in size and became unruly. And by 4:45, projectiles were being thrown at officers at Aliso Street and Main Street. A dispersal order was issued in both English and Spanish from our airship, our air unit, our helicopter, and a sound truck. And by 5:30 p.m., additional projectiles were reported near Spring and Aliso, and fireworks were being directed at the officers. In response, our incident commander authorized the use of less lethal munitions, and the tactical support elements, along with mobile field forces, began moving the crowd northbound on Main Street towards Cesar Chavez Avenue. As officers attempted to clear the area, individuals continued to throw objects at them. Throughout the evening, late into last night, officers monitored multiple groups of pedestrians, cyclists, and vehicles protesting in the downtown area, particularly along Spring Street, LA Street, Main Street, and Alameda Street. Our partners at CHP maintained a blocking force on the 101 freeway ramps, preventing multiple attempts by protesters to enter the freeway. By 8:30 p.m. last night, 2 groups of approximately 80 to 100 people remained blocking roadways at Cesar Chavez Avenue and Alameda Street, as well as at Main Street and Temple Street. By 9:30 p.m., 1 group was moved into the tunnel east of Alameda Street and Cesar Chavez, and then they were contained. This group was eventually released in pairs after being field identified and issued warnings on our officers' body-worn video. No arrests or citations were issued at this culminating event. And then in summary of yesterday's events included.
I wish I had 5 minutes so I could talk about this, but I'm
Officers sustaining minor injuries.
last night was bullshit.
We, as far as use of force, we used 4 rounds of 37
They force people
millimeter,
into a
12
kettle.
rounds of 40 millimeter during the crowd dispersal. And we had 2 reports. One assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer report, and one vandalism report for police vehicle damage. The Los Angeles Police Department fully recognizes and respects the rights of individuals to peacefully protest and express their views. However, when demonstrations escalate into unlawful behavior, such as vandalism, violence, and threats to public safety, much like I described, the department will take decisive action to restore our order. Acts that endanger the community or officers and the city will not be tolerated. The LAPD remains committed to ensuring a safe environment for all, and we will continue to respond appropriately to protect the rights and safety of everyone in Los Angeles. I worked late last night, much like my partner command officers, and I'm extraordinarily proud of the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department and what I saw on television and what I was getting from our incident. They worked tirelessly on the fire response, and then transitioned into this event, and was pleased to see the professionals out there and the pause, if you will. We're also grateful to the CHP for helping us out get through what could be described as a tense time yesterday. As far as crimes, for the week ending of February 1st, we've seen an overall decrease in crime across the city. Over the past 4 weeks, from January 5 through February 1st, combined persons and property crimes have declined by 12.7% compared to the prior 4-week period, with persons crimes down 5.9% and property crimes down 14.5%. Year-to-date, our homicides have decreased by 25% compared to 2024.
Crime is down.
And victims shot have decreased
Crime is down.
by 38.7% year-to-date. It's extraordinary. Aggravated assaults have declined by 11% citywide over the past
So why you
4
want more
weeks.
money? Yeah.
Meanwhile, robberies have risen by 6.6% compared to the prior 4-week period.
And they don't even get more officers in that way, right? They just get raises for the current officers.
I mean, no, they budget in for more officers, but they can't meet recoding goals.
Nobody wants to.
33.6% over the last 4 weeks. Residential burglaries are down 32.7%.
Down.
Non-residential burglaries have declined by 34.2%. Our motor vehicle thefts have risen by 4.4% in the last 4 weeks, with Van Nuys, 77th Street, Southwest, and Northeast areas experiencing the most significant increases. There have been no significant trends or patterns identified as to this slight increase. While we're seeing progress in reducing overall crime, we continue to monitor emerging trends and direct resources where needed to ensure public safety. And finally, as far as our personnel strength, as of yesterday, February 3rd, our sworn personnel are at 8,785.
Up slightly.
Civilian personnel is at 2,673. And our reserve officers are holding at 380.
They want to have 10,000. They have 8,785.
Thank you, Chief. Chief, just to circle back on the Palisades reclosure, that's happening today, and is there any information about how long that's going to stay in place?
Caltrans estimates were that it would stay in place most likely through Friday, depending on how much debris, if any. I say if any, I think they are absolutely anticipating debris flow onto DCH that will occur. Perhaps even without a great deal of significant rain, but I think they are estimating significant amount of rain, and I think they're holding that soft closure that they call it through Friday. And we'll continue to update our partners at Caltrans and our county partners. We're going to be in constant contact with them, assessing what's going on, and we'll update the public when we get a firmer reopen date.
Thank you. Now open it up for questions and comments from the group. From our fellow commissioners, Vice President Shields.
Thank you, President Suthers, and thank you, Chief Randolph, for the report. A couple of observations and questions. One, it is disappointing to see that after the tragedy that the city has already faced with the fires and the stretched resources, that people are co-opting what should have been peaceful protests and turning them into unlawful demonstrations and throwing things against police officers, especially in light of the policies of both this department and the city to try to protect everyone. So thank you for all of the officers that are out there.
She's pretending like that's a common issue. The whole time I was at the protest, I think I saw like 2 glass bottles thrown at police officers the whole night. Like thousands and thousands of people. I saw 2.
Many people who are sympathetic with
And none of them
some of the
even
messaging
hit them in
at
the
the
second front.
protests, but not taking it to that degree. So thank you for the restraint shown there. With regards to the some of the crime statistics, one concern that I have is, given the tactical alert that is in place, there are people that have suffered crimes but are calling in and can't actually get service, so they're not getting a police report on file. So that could potentially deflate the number of crimes that are actually being committed. And in particular, I've had someone contact me who had their home burglarized. They came home and after being out and found their home burglarized and you know, items stolen, things like that. And unfortunately, when they called
I'm about to cook her ass.
911, there was no one able to come out to take a report. And I believe the online reporting does not allow for reporting of burglaries. Is there a way to do something about that so that people can make timely and quick reports to the department, even while, you know, the department's under some type of tactical alert? We don't want people to be discouraged from reporting these types of crimes that are occurring to them, and the loss of security that they feel, and then having the department say that they can't respond is almost doubly problematic.
Vice President Shields, I appreciate your, first of all, thank you. To address your first comment, I appreciate it, and I know the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department, and they're listening, they're watching. They are appreciative of your recognition of their tireless and professional acts. I can tell you that, now addressing your question of what is the public to do under these circumstances when we're under tactical alert, I'll first comment that we are daily assessing the status in which we should remain in tactical alert, and we are on the cusp of releasing that restriction that allows us to be a little bit more keenly aware of our resources and deploy them appropriately. That could happen as early as today. I would say to members of the public that are interested in, they found that they are the subject of a burglary, for example, like the example, the example, and they call 911, they're not getting the answer, you know, they don't know who to turn to. I would say that they would most appropriately turn to their local police department. They're the closest one that patrols their area. For example, if they're in the Palisades area.
You mind holding this when I'm up there?
Yeah, sure.
They would contact the West Los Angeles area community police station.
I'll say if you want a third angle POV for later, I'll have it on this as well.
Okay, yeah, I always do one too.
Okay.
I always do it for multiple
Okay.
angles.
Come on time next time, Jim.
Thank you, and to the extent that we can look at potentially opening up more opportunities for online reporting, particularly in times when our resources are stretched thin, I think that would be welcome. And I'll wait for Chief.
The real chief.
The guy with the Batman mask comes to this too.
Where is he? He's here right now?
Well, I just see that guy right there.
I've never seen them.
Martin,
okay.
Chief,
I thought you was the same guy that goes to
I
city
Chief Randall
council.
got the easy question. I'm
I'll
gonna
probably
give
end
you
up there
the harder
today, too.
question, and apologize as you're just sitting down. But, unfortunately, we have seen in the news recently.
Costume change during this political
Excuse me,
theater.
Commissioner Shields, man with the hat, do not disrupt the speakers up here. One person is gonna speak at a time. Thank you.
Yes, so unfortunately, we've seen again in the news that a member of the department
pissed
has
off
been
faces up there.
arrested for a crime. And I understand these are just, allegations at this point. I want to have an understanding, without getting into the details of this particular incident, the steps the department takes when something like this happens. And then also, at some point, whether there's some type of report that we are presented with that discusses how the department handles an officer is convicted of a crime, and particularly DUI, domestic violence, and making sure that the department is taking adequate steps to deal with these issues so that the department understands that they are not above the law, especially as how impactful and problematic it is to maintain the trust of the community when we have people who are committing crimes.
Thank you for the question. Certainly, it's taken very seriously. In this case, we're working closely with the Tustin Police Department, the Orange County District Attorney's Office. The case will be pursued criminally, and we will then monitor that as it goes, as we move forward. There are now issues as of 2 years ago with state law being changed, and the certification of the individual then being examined. Do they retain the ability to be a police officer after an incident of DUI or 2 DUIs? In a case like this, where there was a fatality,
How are you doing?
certainly he'll work his way through the system, but that's a criminal filing against somebody, so we have a procedure in place to be able to follow up on that.
And maybe I'll ask the Acting Inspector General, do you also track kind of how the department handles DUI situations and kind of the discipline that's associated with those types of complaints?
Commissioner, the Inspector General from guidance last year with respect to DUI complaints within the department, our office monitors. With respect to tracking it towards post, we also receive updates with respect to cases of and post and the after that.
Want to pass it?
Mr. Conte.
They're not gonna take it. They're not gonna take it.
Chief, I also want to underscore the appreciation for the calm and restraint of the officers. I watched some of it on TV. Unfortunately,
I was there. Shit.
very sad
What the fuck are you talking about?
officers have to stand there and take abuse from folks that weren't even part of the organized protest.
Just
So I
complaining
just
about
want
people saying stuff to come.
and appreciate their calm, the strength, and the fact that they just stood there and took it as part of an effort
Oh, yeah, people
to,
said mean stuff to
you
them.
know, keep calm in the city. But I also think that when arrests are appropriate, I'm glad that those arrests were made. I mean, I saw, donuts by, cars that actually create dangerous situations for just bystanders. So I would really appreciate you
Yeah,
being
they're seeing what's actually happening. They just see it on TV. And
Yeah.
they're just seeing like the highlights of the crazy shit.
The other,
We were
thing I
there,
wanted to bring
in the
up,
middle of
unfortunately,
it.
You were in last week.
I saw on TV. I was.
Just a report back on the Latino Forum that your office organized. We had over 30.
Now I gotta talk about something different. I came here for one thing. I gotta talk about something totally different now because I'm so angry at these people.
Very important conversation to learn about what the department is doing We had groups like.
Shout out to Kathy to come to my rescue.
Saleh, GoFam, all these different groups that, and Latino leaders from across the county, the city. Some of the things that they brought up that I thought that the commission would like to hear back about is one of the recommendations was to post information, the Know Your Rights information on our website to make that easy for folks to navigate.
Man, shut up.
In Spanish, and then also they brought up how many followers the LAPD HQ Instagram site has.
Who cares?
It would be important to post it there. They're doing a lot of outreach on their own, but they also feel hearing the same information from law enforcement adds another level of legitimacy and credibility about the fact that LAPD will not ask about immigration. So that's a recommendation. The other thing that they brought up, which I thought was really important, was they wanted information, and I think this will be a request that I will make. Information about potential loss of funding if President Trump decides to cut grant funding. We know that that's something he initiated, took back. So from my own, experience and education as being here as a commission member, I know the majority of the operations comes from the city, but we do have a lot of grant funding for instance, human trafficking and other projects that we're working on. So I would request some sort of report on potential loss of any federal grants and what the impact would be to the department if we lost some of these key grants that we get from the federal government. I know we have a few COPS grants and other grants, so I would make that recommendation. And then lastly, I would also recommend and request that our senior lead officers in key areas, in key divisions, to host Know Your Rights information sessions, so that, we met with the community, but with the community leaders, but I think now we have to set up, and I would say on Zoom would be great, to have these Know Your Rights sessions conducted by senior lead officers in key divisions.
Know your rights from the cops?
Yeah, so just, I wanted to share that information. I'm
Fuck
sure you
type
got
of
it.
shit. Shut up. Guys, do not go to the LAPD asking what your rights are.
Cops are literally the ones that don't want you to know your rights.
Yeah, they don't even know the right. They don't even know the laws.
I think that a follow-up would be great, once we have some clear, course of action. I recommended that the group meet once a month. These are amazing leaders across the city, that care about the immigrant community. So, once a month Zoom I recommended, so that we can stay connected to this group and kind of have a pulse on what their needs are. So I'd be happy to work with you.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification on the federal grants, we can give a list of all federal grants we get. That'd be speculative at this point to know what the administration is gonna continue to fund and what they may not continue to fund. I think we will wait some period of time to get a better read on that.
No, yeah, so a list with the amounts, we don't know what's gonna happen, but at least we would know what potentially can happen if we knew what our grants were.
Okay, sure.
That would be great, thank you. Thank you, President.
Of course. Commissioner Garcia.
No, it's fine, thank you.
Whoa! Eat out.
Everyone. I have a couple of questions regarding the immigration protest. The first one on the 2nd of February, and then the one last night.
This is the third racist.
Assistant Chief Randolph did, I think, very thoroughly go over the important points of those two protests. And I too, before I ask the questions, I too want to acknowledge the service of the LAPD and the restraint and the calm, really, that occurred in the city. For the protesters, this is a very important topic. It's not going to be the last of what you saw yesterday. And I think that if our officers continue to prepare for some real protests and also taking into consideration some of the disruptors, I think we're going to continue with a calm, and I thank them, and I appreciate their service. I have some questions about the protest on the 2nd of February. Some numbers were given, 200 at certain times, 300, 600 at a certain time. But do you happen to know the estimated total number of protesters for February 2nd?
You know, off the top of my head, I heard a variety of different assessments on that too, but I can get back to you on what the overall numbers were.
Okay, I think we all saw and saw a lot of activity on the streets, and I think for the most part, 99% of them were there for a purpose and a mission and to hear their voices, and I think that that happened, but I think we always have to be aware of some of those that come in and disrupt. I was told that there was one arrest, the use of a deadly weapon arrest. Is that the only arrest that happened on the 2nd?
That's the only one I'm aware of. I did just get an update, on the 2nd, there were a crowd estimate of 3,000.
Okay, that's a good number.
All this drama and they're making one arrest.
On the,
Like seriously, the worst thing I saw,
Were
other
any
than the bottle, was like spray paint. That's it.
To get back to you on that, there was some minor, there was one officer hit in the helmet with a full beer. But no serious injuries certainly on that, but
what about protesters?
I don't have information on that.
I saw a protester taken away by
On the
ambulance.
3rd, yesterday, that was an all-day protest, and can you tell me what that less lethal munition was, or ammunition was that was used?
You can't have commissioners that know things.
It's either 37 millimeter or 40 millimeter baton. It basically, it's like, to explain it, like a racquetball.
Oh no, we're good.
Yeah,
I'm good. No.
5 officers were injured, all minor. Injured in either.
You're the star anyway. Everybody loves your stuff. You always go viral.
Bars in hell for white ladies. You don't have to try that hard.
Do you have any information if any of the protesters were
Yes,
injured?
none that we're aware of.
Let's see, were there any arrests made yesterday?
What does he know?
There were no arrests yesterday.
Literally, your deputy just said there were like 20.
He did. He doesn't know.
Now, these projectiles that were thrown at officers, what type of projectile are we talking about?
Often whatever they can pick up off the street, pieces of curb, rocks, bottles.
That tells you the piece of curb. That tells you we defund our city. Yeah, and so you can just break apart the
Please refrain from
curb.
interrupting the chief when he's trying to respond to the commissioner. Thank you.
Ooh.
Chief, go ahead. Ma'am, with the mask, it's your first and last warning.
Ooh.
Yeah, some of
Will be
the
removed from the room.
No.
some of the other objects are they're routinely assaulted with full beer cans, fireworks. As I mentioned, pieces of curb or rock that they find out there on the street or on the side of the freeway.
Were any officers injured?
There were five
Most-
officers were injured, but they were minor injuries overall.
And that's total between the 2 days?
Right, that's what it is, right.
And what about protesters? Anybody protested injured?
Oh my God.
All right, I think that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We will now go on to agenda item number 2, public comment. Secretary, please announce the first speaker.
The first speaker is Jonathan Foster.
Foster, 3 minutes, definitely not enough. Boy, what is a rich girl without a lipstick? And I believe the Eagles are gonna win. So,
Great start.
the OIS today on Zepeda, the officer shot 9 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I think it's a little too much. It's a little too much. And so that leads me to Judge, retired Judge.
I hear you.
The Graham versus O'Connor 89 Supreme Court decision rests on a reasonable officer. Can you define a reasonable officer for me?
Yeah, give a comment. We'll give a comment.
You're a judge, get 90% of your paycheck in retirement. Can you define a reasonable officer? Shot the guy 9 times. I've asked for 1, on this one maybe 2. How about the net guns? They shot less lethal 3 times. Where were the net guns? I've been requesting this for 6 years. This also leads me that commissioners should stay here for 10 years. That means you're going from 65 to age 75. You should stay here for 10 years. I don't volunteer because of a longtime Zoomer that volunteered for 30 years. He was told he has to leave, and so I will never. I didn't read the report on the officer shooting Eric Rivera. I listened to it, so I had to correct myself. I listened to Chief Illuminati Beck talk about it. So, and I watched the video several times. That's why I asked about what is a reasonable officer. And last week it was Rolstead, Chief Rolstead. You shot him, and that he could have been hit with a net gun and saved his life. And it requested 6 years of this. I'm smarter than everybody in the building. I am the smartest, strongest, most powerful man on earth.
Wow.
Very stable genius.
Okay? My brain runs faster than everybody's brain in the building, okay? Including yours.
Talk your shit,
I
Jonathan.
will. So you didn't mention the arson, and there was an arson fire on New Year's, right? You're talking about bringing them a PPE. Well, where are the net guns and the shields and the head-to-toe body armor? That's what we need as far as PPE, is shields, net guns, head-to-toe body armor. Trump fired all the FBI. You gotta go. And the command staff of the LAPD's gotta go, too. Because it won't tell who wrote the George Floyd vow.
Thank you.
That's true.
You gotta go, buddy. You have to pick up and get out of here. You.
Thank you.
Yes.
Can you hear
The
me?
George Floyd Valentine card, it's one of 3 people I've narrowed it
Oh,
down
I
to,
was
but I can't
pleased.
figure out who it is.
I don't even know what that is. I know
Thank
that.
you for the time this morning.
They were-
Fair warning.
I'll tell you
I'm
when we
gonna
get outta
say
here.
words I don't normally.
Dirty room, gotta go.
Puppet,
Can't stay
Mr.
in a dirty
Greenspan,
room.
and F-Fun guy are all characters that always end up having to talk after.
This is
There
Mona.
shock value to this commission. I beg to say.
I interviewed her the other
not
day
to listen.
on my Scientology
Having
channel.
words like fair warning, nigger, fuck, cocksucker thrown at you repeatedly causes you not to hear it. This in Scientology is called to become clear, clearing your reactive mind. It is a Scientologist's duty to clear the planet, essentially taking everyone's reactive mind away. The process is that you are repeatedly given things so it flattens your emotions, making you a robot. Now let's insert a child into the mix. This mind control method is used on children as young as 7 to 8 years old. Now here you are listening to 3 minutes. In Scientology, children are exposed and exploited at 3 to 10 hours a day. Not being allowed to leave the room, held in captivity with a grown person alone for hours upon hours, made to hold 2 cans as lie detectors, and not allowed to leave until the lie detector says it's okay. The lie detector will not give a green light until the child floats the needle. That means the child has to look up the word or show on dolls what the words mean. It is called word clearing. Please do that. Would you want your 8-year-old showing what nigger, fuck, or cocksucker. Mind control on children is abuse per California law. Unlawful detainment or imprisonment is child
Ma'am,
abuse.
you're off topic. This is not a matter before the police commission. Please stay on topic, or I will terminate your public comment period.
Sir, I am talking about child abuse. And looking at the
Something you know a lot about, right, Errol?
He knows.
You are
Ooh.
receiving videos showing protesters.
Errol started a youth program which had like mass essay of children.
The reason for protesting. It is the religion.
That guy right there.
Excuse me.
I confronted him about it. He blocked me on Twitter.
Kind of upset me. But it is not the religion, it is the abuse happening in the name of the religion. I'm asking for a meeting with the chief of police,
Which
the
phone do you want me to
OIG,
hold when this
and the
person?
commission, and I haven't heard back. So please be respectful of my request.
I probably go now.
My email
I
has
think I'll go
been sent
next.
to the executive. Thank you, and I yield back to the time.
The next speaker, please, Hamed Khan.
Let's go, Hamid.
Several items on the agenda today, and particularly this internet crimes against children. I think what's missing from the conversation is the history of crimes that the LAPD has
Yeah.
constantly committed against children as well.
Yeah.
And of course, we posted a whole timeline of sexual assault where they were having orgies with cadets. This has all been documented. This is
Oh
all
my
on our website,
God.
LAPDspying.org. Yes,
Yeah.
16-year-old young women, LAPD cops, having orgies, with these cadets. So, this whole bullshit about internet crimes. But I think the bigger issue is that Judge Teresa over there is asking about certain things. So I have a question for you, Judge, that, behavioral surveillance has become central to LAPD's operation to criminalize people. So I want you to explain to me that what does, and I quote from LAPD's Suspicious Activity Reporting Program, that it's observed behavior reasonably indicative of pre-operational planning of terrorist and or criminal activity. Now, what is that stuff? How does that stand in court? How do you do that? That you're observing somebody that reasonably indicates that somebody's thinking of doing something wrong. And then you open up secret files on them. So this whole issue about constantly talking about immigration and not partnering with the federal agencies in immigration, you are giving these things away to immigration. You are putting in reports through your iWatch program, through your See Something, Say Something program, through your providing alternatives to hinder extremism program, in partnership with the LAUSD through the Los Angeles LASAR program, that you're sending this information to Fusion Center and federal agencies. So, first of all, you are opening up secret files that go to federal agencies based on observed behavior, which is reasonably indicative. Rasha Shields, you're a federal prosecutor as well. And these are the standards that the LAPD is using. And then we are told to circle back and come around that, LAPD is protecting people's individual information. Your license plate readers are directly hooked up, which are providing information. The information sharing environment is vast, that goes through various law enforcement information services, and through fusion centers, and through various other federal agencies. So under what pretext are you even claiming, Garcia, that you are here protecting the undocumented, or just the fuck the undocumented status, either just human beings and people who are living in Los Angeles? When are you going to take action? When are you going to expose that? When are you going to investigate that? When are you going to have that audited? Where is the audit for the Suspicious Activity Reporting Program? Where you've had constantly these secret files that are being opened, sent to Joint Terrorism Task Forces through the fusion centers. What about the Joint Terrorism Task Force investigations? So these are all things that will continue to expose and disrupt, because you are responsible for that.
Your 3 minutes is up.
Thank you, Hamid.
Yeah.
Thank you. All items, can you hear me?
Yes, 3 minutes.
Okay, good morning. Sunday's riot exposed another leadership failure by Chief McDonald and Mayor Karen Bass. Officers outnumbered and under-resourced were defenseless against rioters throwing bottles and fireworks. This was your first test, Chief McDonald, a chance to stand with LAPD. Instead, you caved to optics, likely at Bass's command. LAPD knew about this protest, yet sent 20 officers and a sergeant against 3,000. By 1:30 p.m., rioters took the 101 freeway. Neil arrived at 3 p.m., long after officers were surrounded, calling for help that never came. No dispersal order was given, even after officers were attacked. Neil stood by while rioters threw bottles, emboldening them to take over freeways without consequences, and stopped downplaying officers' injuries. LAPD finally pulled more officers, but 120 was still nowhere near the 300 needed. You should have mobilized ahead of the planned protest, no matter the cost. LAPD refused.
This is a cop. It's probably a union. Probably somebody from the
From the
union.
sheriff's department arrived at 7 p.m. but were ordered to stand down after an hour. Why? Where the hell were you? That you couldn't pick up the phone and call Luna? Or was that your
100%.
Commissioners, these are the questions you should be asking. Demand an after-action report. Request mutual aid or increase National Guard support
National Guard support.
for the Palisades. The fires are devastating within just one part of the city. How will Los Angeles handle a major earthquake, active shooter, or terrorist attack? What about the burglary crews still terrorizing the Valley and West Side? Did those citizens just go without LAPD patrol? And where was the mobilization during the fires? Another failure.
Palisades, it's a ghost town.
Carranza did far better than Neil. She issued a dispersal
The
order when
people I saw
officers
walking
were
around
attacked.
were cops and
Maybe she should have been the next chief. But Angelinos are still outraged. Karen Bass can call them peaceful, but attacking officers is violence. Shut it down. Why were detained individuals released? Where were the buses to haul them off? Why were rioters allowed to do donuts in front of officers? I saw a Toyota Camry circling an intersection waiting for officers.
Not the donuts.
And Karen Bass, I know your people are listening. This cannot be a new normal. Angelinos have had enough. Your budget cuts to LAFD, billions for criminal homeless who steal and set fires daily, and your refusal to let LAPD enforce laws weren't enough. Your protection of these so-called peaceful protesters
Boy, she is
will be your downfall.
ball of
Chief
sunshine.
McDonald, stand up to Bass.
She woke up
Brigade, your
just
number of
cranky as
soldiers.
hell.
Do better while you're here. Your officers are disappointed. Give your commanders what they need to stop this from happening again.
Isn't she delightful?
Back him up. And if Tom Homan gets this message, come to LA and do the job Bass won't let LAPD do. Excuse my French, but fuck no, Lou Kalanch should slow resources and HQ's Instagram account assist illegals evading federal law enforcement
Oh,
with
God.
the Know Your Rights campaign. I think it's time you finally be removed from this commission. You've lost your damn mind. Yield my time.
What's up? What do you need more? That's the top.
The next speaker, Montios today.
What do you want?
All right.
Ouch. Ouch.
I was the second one that signed up.
Sir, the red hat, next time you give the finger to the camera, you will be removed. That's your first and last warning, with your friend in front of you as well.
What?
Sir, please go ahead.
My name is Montes Pellegrino, Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. And, you know, this is really interesting right now. Like, we have this moment of apparent conflict between callers who are clearly in support of the police, maybe even our police, and this commission, who we would also argue are in support of the police, but are trying to sanitize their violence in one way or another. And it's just really interesting to me how, well, it was very funny how Chief McDonald walked in mid-question, interrupted the assistant chief. But, you know, I wish I didn't care about my job that much. Just to say, you know, Commissioner Shields, you're effectively parroting police talking points right now around the underreporting of crime, right? And the fact that crime numbers are maybe deflated because people aren't calling it in. And let's just say if people aren't reporting crimes in and you know, these numbers are deflated in one way, which I don't think is true, for the record. That's not indicative of people, you know, not reporting crimes or those mechanisms not being in place. That's indicative of people knowing that policing doesn't equal safety. It's true. Like, even the department says they can't respond to things. That's not the function of this department. The function of this department is to quash dissent, quash protest. And it's frankly ridiculous that we talk about folks disturbing peaceful protest or police, you know, remaining stern and stoic and strong despite abuse. What's the alternative? And they're looking at me right now. Would you rather they do what they normally do? And that's what you're suggesting, which is shoot people with less than lethals, with guns, hit them with batons. You're frankly in the presence of a room full of people that face the brunt of police violence during peaceful protests all the time. And so what you're saying, I'm pointing out more so for the folks here, is so detached from reality, so detached from the experiences of people and truly just grounded in a fiction. And Commissioner Kalanche, this whole Know Your Rights campaign is incredibly laughable too. Like the police putting out a Know Your Rights, their function is to mask, or to hide, to break people's rights. They lie about it all the time. But I do think you said something really interesting, which is that it would provide another level of legitimacy and credibility for LAPD. That's an interesting point. If we, pull up the counterinsurgency manual for the U.S. military, it says here, legitimacy determines the transaction cost of political and governmental power. Low legitimacy may breed contempt on the part of the population and may require extensive prodding and incentives by the government to secure compliance of the population. High legitimacy generally invites compliance by the population and therefore requires less effort by the government to ensure compliance. An illegitimate government's only method of controlling its population is coercion, which can be resource intensive. So this is from the counterinsurgency manual. This body is a counterinsurgency body. The coercion in question is physical violence, which we see perpetrated in protest. And on the matter of arrest that you're just taking Jim McDonald's word for, children were arrested.
Yes.
That's on camera.
Thank you, Matios.
Yeah, good morning, can you hear me?
Yes, what items would you like to speak on?
Yes, please, I would like to have all items.
Sounds like Henry.
Yeah, so I know that William Good is there in person, and I specifically want to shout him out because a while back at La Poubelle, we have AirTag Al Abreda, who is supported by Janet Whelan from Scientology, touting Al's disgusting behavior and the way that he was involved with the repeated sexual stalking of a case that's already been settled and very well known. It seems to me that for some reason or another, LAPD just cannot help itself be involved with criminal organizations like Scientology. And you have these repeat offenders who, like Al Abreda, go and stalk women, and then for some reason you have LAPD also being in bed with people like Janet Whelan, who serves on the CPAC board, and openly touting the behavior of Al Abreda. AirTag Al, that's who LAPD gets in bed with. People like Janet Whelan, and allows them to continually serve on the board of a CPAC despite the disgusting behavior that
Good job, Henry.
already known very well to the public. AirTag Al. Let's also
AirTag Al.
get to other abuses that William Good, also in person there, has faced at the hands of LAPD at the behest of Scientology. Detective Aludo literally shoulder-checked Will as he got his face
This is
punched
true.
by a known Scientology agitator way almost a year ago now at La Poubelle. And the agitator, we have the blueprints of La Poubelle. There's only one entrance for ingress and egress. The guy was in there.
All true.
He broke William's nose, for Christ's sake.
True.
And Detective Aludo outright lied and said nobody's in there, he's already fled the scene. And then had the audacity to literally shoulder check William as if to add salt to the wound. The man had his nose bashed and broken. And you have a detective go and shoulder check a victim who's trying
True.
to file a victim report and make Aludo do his job by taking the PPA. Aludo needs to be permanently removed from the force. Not
True.
pulled around, which I know you guys do very well, but permanently removed from the force. And Chief, I filed at least 24 complaints dating way back in November and January with literal footage showing many officers, including Aludo, outright refusing to take a PPA. And you dare say on this position that they're unfounded? Bro, there's literally hours of live stream footage showing your force, not mine, yours, literally harassing, threatening, and outright taking and showing favoritism for Scientology. A criminal racket where you have one of the people in Scientology serving on a CPAC board and supporting the behavior of AirTag Al. That's you, Jim McDonald, that's you. And that's this whole commission.
Good job, Henry.
The next speaker, Kuyan Vo.
All right, let's go.
It's crazy. You could track someone with an AirTag because they have anti-stalking features.
Yeah, I think the thing I'd want to start with is honestly, Jim, one of your more embarrassing performances yet. You
Yes.
came late, and then literally 12 minutes before you came in, your undersecretary under little Satan, who knows, Daniel literally said that there were arrests made, and then 12 minutes later you come in with a statement rife with inaccuracies.
Exactly.
Every question you answered was wrong, except for maybe the fact that there were people doing donuts.
Got him.
Honestly, humbling for you. At any rate, this week your verbal presentation is on your quote-unquote gang reduction and youth development program, GRID. On your website for GRID, it talks about the three main contributors to what the website calls risk for gang membership. The first being literally being a youth, the second being living in one of 23 GRID zones, and the third being something called your Youth Services Eligibility Tool. What LAPD calls GRID zones is a process by which certain areas and neighborhoods are deemed quote-unquote gang zones, assigning an automatic designation of criminality to entire blocks and communities. Presuming guilt solely based off of geographic location, and in your classic methods of reuse, reduce, recycle, we see your tactics recycled from other geolocation-based police strategies. We've seen this with pride poll hotspots. We've seen this with the Los Angeles Strategic Extraction and Restoration Kill Zones, or LASER. Now, with GRID zones, you have once again chosen locations. You've even highlighted them on maps in order to designate who you deem disposable and who you deem worthy of violence. Your predictive policing models are not just bound by geographies, though. A third way you presume guilt is by using what you call your Youth Services Eligibility Tool, YSET. It's laughable you think you provide services, by the way. This tool, YSET, is based off of 9 factors you use to further presume guilt, to demonize young people, and assign criminality to children. The first of that, or one of them, is literally having a critical life event. Thank God you're criminalizing babies because they've had a critical life event. This logic has put children as young as 28 months on your databases and lists just to surveil children. Your efforts to sanitize your violence through the continued counterinsurgency of pretending to form relationships with young people just to further surveil and criminalize them is frankly vile. In fact, you got almost $1 million through a grant to prevent internet crimes against children, as Hamid mentioned. But the reality is that LAPD officers are the one perpetuating sexual violence.
That's right.
As Hamid mentioned, the timeline we released in 2017 details some of the countless abuses you've committed. And the patterns and practices are clear. The abuse of children over time is clear and consistent. Your targets are varied, most incidents go unreported, and there's a distinct history of abuse within law enforcement programs. In fact, in El Southern's own Santa Monica Police Commission,
That's right.
fucking police academy, who fucking knows, was a site at which you, LAPD, sexually abused.
Thank you.
200 kids.
Dr. Jaquil.
Chocolate. Come over here.
Hello,
There was not
everybody.
one to speak.
Wanted to
I
take
think
the
not
time
only
to
speak, I signed up.
express my sympathy for
Second
the
one.
people who are experiencing
It's
fires,
not let everyone
loss of
speak.
income,
We'll find out. That'd be the
business
first.
destruction. Also wanted to say hello
First time
to
I
Chief
had to deal with
McDonald.
it.
My first time seeing you. Congratulations on becoming the new chief. Wanted to also express my confidence in LAPD of alleviating the issues that are being caused by criminal arrests regarding the protests and etc. And I wanted to take the time to inform you all about an incident regarding a police misconduct that my client recently experienced. It occurred on November 10th, 2024, and there was an officer by the name of Officer Helton, who unfortunately incarcerated my client despite the fact that he had a CCW license and a BSAS, an exposed firearms permit. And the officer arrested this particular individual for carrying a firearm, despite the fact that my client had the proper credentials. I wanted to notify you all that. Also, I noticed that there has been several instances where individuals have utilized racial slurs during this meeting, and I wanted to notify you all that that could be a potential violation of Robert Rules of Order. And as a civil rights activist, it's very offensive to me to hear the N-word utilized in this meeting, and people are not immediately removed. Also, I wanted to inform you all that my client, unfortunately, had difficulty obtaining the police report in this particular, regarding this case. And once he was arrested, the officers confiscated his pepper spray. He was a security guard, so he's licensed to carry weapons, but the pepper spray was not indicated in the police report. So I just wanted to take the time to notify you all of an incident that occurred that consisted of potential police misconduct. And thank you all for your time. God bless you all.
Thank you.
The next speaker,
Excuse me, sir.
Sir.
You can speak to one of our staff members back there, we'll take them.
Okay.
the next speaker, Mr. Herman.
He signed up after me.
Oh God, this is gonna be good.
I really don't know who you were talking about, Herman, but BHWA Boyle Heights for America attitude is here just to represent the issues on the second claim for relief against the city of Los Angeles and the fucked up police violation.
These
of the
guys are
First,
gonna not let me speak.
14th Amendment and Article Section 2 of the California Constitution regarding enforcement of unconstitutional rules and your fucked up decorum. That answers the gentleman's question earlier before me. Big face, you don't fuck with Batman. You don't fucking question Batman. You fucking listen. You listen for the reason why the city's so fucked up, Earl. The same reason we heard about vandalism, graffiti. What else, Earl? There's a list. The chief of police gave us a fucking list, and I had to come back to verify the fucking list about targeting Donald Trump and fucking ICE. On behalf of Donald Trump and his family, on behalf of America, on behalf of Batman, fuck you. That's my First Amendment, motherfucker. Now you know where we come from. Brown pride motherfucker here. So let's go into the Gadfly song. I wanna thank the ground, God, I got from the homies. I say fuck the criminals of law who break the rules all day, every day, all night, night to day. What the fuck, I break the rules all like bitches, ain't no understanding, no stopping, you make me proud of me. So fuck you.
Your public comment has been terminated. Step away from the
You
podium.
yos don't like my say, you
Your public
motherfuckers know
comment
my
has
First
been
Amendment
terminated.
side.
Step away
I'm
from
a
the
bitch,
podium.
make it real, that's my attitude, motherfucker.
Sir, I'm ordering you out of the room.
I'm leaving, I heard your sample asses for the record.
I'm ordering you out
Yeah,
of the
fuck
room.
you, nigga. I heard. That's right.
I'm ordering you out of the room.
I'm getting my G on, fool. I'm gonna get my shit and get my G on, nigga.
And by the way, just for clarity here, when you use that word, you're supposed to be referring to me or all the black people in the room.
I'm referring to the Constitution, motherfucker.
For the others in the room, I apologize.
Space ground
Please,
pride.
this word.
Black pride, not your ass, fool.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
We are not in solidarity.
Took my 1 minute away from me, motherfucker. You savage, disgusting piece of shit that we all are in America, right? Bring down my country. I want DACA, I want ICE, and I demand Trump. Oh, fuck. Well, Ben, I'm being escorted. Can someone please pick up the camera? Goddamn. Goddamn, Merle. See what I mean? I'm no threat, motherfuckers. I'm just exercising my First Amendment, 42 C 1980. Fuck you, fool. Fuck you, fool.
The next speaker, please, William Good.
Watch this.
All right, let's go.
All right, here we go.
Now, Commissioner Shields, you asked what happens to officers that commit DUIs. Well, why don't you look at last month's discipline report, where there was an officer who was on duty, drunk driving, had a hit and run, and got arrested. And then when he was off duty, he was drunk driving and got arrested again.
Oh, Jesus.
And what happened to him? Did he get fired? No, he got a 22-day suspension. 22-day suspension. So rather than ask them what happens. Why don't you actually look at the report? Because that wasn't the only officer who committed DUIs who got a suspension last month for 22 days. Now, Mr. President, you talked about the guy using the N-word and how it offended all black people in the room. Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, there was an officer who was caught on their body-worn video referring to me as a black fool. Now, this was after I caught him making an unlawful search. I didn't say a word, I just asked for his name. They refused to give it to me 8 times and sustained a complaint for the unlawful search, right? So I did my service helping out somebody and file a third-party complaint and got that unlawful search sustained, and those officers were suspended for 2 days. But I had asked 8 times for the cops' names, and they refused to give it to me. I filed a complaint on refusal to give his name or his business card, and you guys said that that's non-disciplinary. Non-disciplinary. So I went to the OIG, I'm sure Florence, you investigated it. They went and looked at the body-worn video and saw the cop on the body-worn video calling me a black fool. A black fool. And then when the investigators, Chow, at the Hollywood Division complaint supervisor, investigated and he determined that the cop was just blowing off steam. Blowing off steam. And when the OIG forced the complaint, you guys went and adjudicated it as non-disciplinary. Calling me a black fool is non-disciplinary. Now let me ask you something. If an officer was caught on tape calling somebody a Jewish fool, what would be the reaction? There would be unrest. There would be meetings. People would be fired. But Errol, when you were so offended by this guy saying the N-word, are you offended by them calling me, these officers calling me a black fool? I have emailed Chief about this 9 times, asking, is this acceptable? And does, under him, will this be considered non-disciplinary? He has not responded. You were all on those emails. So you will all be held accountable, Shields. You guys work in the private sector. I'm going to ask for everyone to send me all of their clients, and I'm going to reach out to them to ask if that's acceptable, that you do nothing.
Thank you.
Thank you, William.
guess I muted.
I don't know if it was intentional, but right when you stood up, I like tried to go to that little corner by the door to get a good angle of you, and like immediately one of those cops like came over and saw like, oh, excuse me, I gotta get in here, and it's like they like had me move. I don't know if that was intentional or they're just supposed to always have an officer standing there.
You never know with these guys, you know? You just never know. Wait, which courthouse is it up there? I feel like I spent half my life down here in these courthouses. Oh, I saw Joey the other day.
Oh, you
did? Oh, no, I didn't see him. Somebody sent me a picture of him. Actually,
What's he doing? Does he still have the cane?
No, he was. Oh no, he was walking with his dog. 2 bags of groceries from Trader Joe's.
So
no
he
limp.
does it for the cameras.
Yeah, he did it for the cameras. I take offense to him having 2 bags of Trader Joe's. When he owes $150,000 for my lawyer's fees, I think that he should. He told the judge that all he eats is cheap lunch meat. She was looking hard. Yeah, he said, all I eat is cheap lunch meat. I don't have any money. And then he's shopping at Trader Joe's. Now, listen, I don't think Trader Joe's is the most expensive place. I think it's really affordable, actually, for
Yeah, but it's
decent
like,
quality.
Yeah, it's not like.
I want him at the dollar store.
Yeah, Smart and Final. Or something.
Yeah. Well, if I see him, I'm going to say, Joey, how much change you got in your pockets? Hand it over. 82 cents? Give me that. We'll put that on your tab. We'll put it on your bill. He avoids me at all costs. Like, literally, he has abandoned Hollywood Boulevard completely. That was his spot. So you know about this case today, right? You know what's going on?
I know that it's 2 of Heidi's staffers
Yes.
that are testifying about her specifically going after Palestinian protesters.
Specifically about Richie Sergienko.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was protesting outside the AIPAC.
Well, they thought he was.
Oh, they thought he was.
And they blamed him for destruction that happened there, and he had nothing to do with. Well, no, they didn't think that. Heidi wanted him prosecuted for it. Heidi's line prosecutor said, no, there's no evidence that he did anything, that he was there, did anything wrong. Then the LAPD, she was trying to force the LAPD to make an arrest, and they said, we don't have any evidence that he's done anything wrong. But she insisted on the arrest. So then they had to have an intervention. Her staff had a meeting with the LAPD, and I don't know who, Heidi or somebody, or one of her top people, and said, hey, this is all improper, including McGinnis, who's considered like the most respected of all her prosecutors in office. Literally, is well known for being highly respected career prosecutor, and essentially she suspended McGinnis in retaliation, and so she did a whistleblower filing, and so they had those protesters. And I think it's really interesting because they're prosecuting 31 people for going on the freeway, and the defense is saying, hey, this is selective prosecution that she's participating in.
Yeah.
The city attorney says there's no proof of that. And then, where am I? We went too far. Fuck, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm just following you. I don't know where we're going.
Yeah, we went too far.
Is Walt Disney Concert Hall too far?
I just don't want to. We already worked halfway up the hill.
I mean, that's the top of the hill up there, so.
Fuck it, let's just go. We're already there.
Do you need me to map it?
No, because I don't even remember the name of the courthouse. I just know.
Okay. So now it's like, now there is a test case to see how she prosecutes people differently, because now people have taken over.
Well, that was the thing. There was
different protests.
There was a huge hearing on Thursday where Heidi's people were saying, no, we did it because they're on a freeway. And they said, well, how come you didn't do it when people blocked LAX? They said, well, that's not a freeway. This is the only case since Heidi has been city attorney where there's been a freeway takeover. Well, now you had hundreds,
Yeah.
you know, do it the other day. If Heidi were to prosecute them for that, there would be uproar.
Yeah. And she'd have to go after like 1,000 people.
Exactly. And so now, yeah, there absolutely is a test case. Absolutely is a test case. I thought that they were going to just drop the charges so McGinnis wouldn't have to testify today. But they didn't. So yeah, I take it personally. Confronted her in the Palms.
In Palms, yeah. Yeah, I remember that was probably one of the things you were yelling about.
We definitely went too far.
I was just trying to get answers about the RV crushing when I was there. I don't even know if she knew about that was going to happen, but...
The RV crushing?
Yeah, but it's at one point, Sergeant Alpert, when I was at a suite, said like...
The worst.
Way he was like, yeah. And he was like, you know, this has been all the way up to the city attorney, and she said to still block off the street. So when he said that was when I thought like, oh, maybe she does actually know everything going on here.
Yeah, Alberts is a special piece of shit.
Did I tell you one time when they had one of the streets taped off, right in front of Alpert, a BMW came and just like drove right through the tape and ripped it, and me and one of the workers from the nonprofits were like, oh, we can give you the plate for that if you want. And he's like, no, he's one of the local business owners on this street.
He said that?
Yeah, he was like,
oh my God.
He just let one of the business owners rip through the cops.
Rip through the plate. Yeah.
Don't care.
Let me try that. Yeah, I mean, McDonald walked in there and said there were no arrests yesterday when Randolph, right before that, literally 10 minutes before that, said there were multiple arrests. It's like, come on, Chief, you don't even know basic shit.
Do you think these people just don't do any work outside of this meeting? They just show up to the meeting and freeball it, or?
I think.
It feels like one of those meetings where like nobody's doing the prep work.
I feel like here's the thing, right? If you looking at the last couple of years, there are some assholes, but smart assholes.
Yeah.
In the LAPD have sort of left, including Steve Laurie, the guy who's now running the assistant vice chancellor or vice chancellor of public safety at UCLA. He was just hired. He's like my arch nemesis. I fought with him for years. He was the Hollywood captain, and we went at it. I filed complaints against him. He used to come in Twitter drunk, arguing with me, saying that I'm unfair to cops, and it's like, William, just admit that there is no police officer, both real or imagined, that would ever satisfy you. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He was complaining because I was saying the complaint process is too long. Talking about a specific complaint against a cop who actually arrested me. Come to find out, when it was all said and done, it took 24 months to finish the complaint process. You have to have it done in 12 months. So it wasn't adjudicated because it was out of statute.
Yeah.
And he came in there arguing with me about that.
Also, I've seen you be friendly with cops before.
Yeah,
so
I always...
chill.
Listen, if they're chill, I match everybody. I match their energy. If they're chill, I will be chill. If they're respectful, I'll be respectful. Yeah. I don't think people realize, like, one of the main things I do is when I'm on a police stop, if somebody doesn't have their license, I like to drive their car away for them instead of having their car towed. And if you have a bad rapport with the cops constantly, they're not going to cut you that slack. I give them props when I do. I've written, 9 commendations, 10? I mean, I've written 1,000 complaints, but...
Yeah.
All right, yeah, we definitely went too far. Now I'm all sweaty from going up that hill. The helicopters are out here early, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they're just...
That might be the morning news.
Yeah. I saw one LAPD and one news.
That looks like LAPD, right? Is that LAPD?
I think that says Fox on
Oh, it says Fox on it.
Yeah, I think that's the Fox News chopper.
And I wanted time to talk about the protest yesterday. Like I was saying, I was showing them on my live stream where they had sort of the kettle set up and they were pushing people into the kettle who were just walking by and escorting them into the kettle. They didn't give a proper dispersal order. They're supposed to get on the loudspeakers, do the whole... All they did is they came to that one intersection, which was not part of the earlier dispersal order. It was a different area.
Yeah.
And said that leave the area, you're blocking traffic. And the people literally left the area and then got kettled.
And just ran into another block.
They just shut it down in the kettle. I saw it all coming. It was fucking, I saw Jessica and Easy in there, and I was texting them, like, get out of here, come to me. I sent them my location, say, come in my direction.
Yeah.
And then I went to go look for him, and next thing you know, I'm in the fucking kettle. And I knew it was coming all night. I knew it was coming.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how tonight goes.
You know, I heard them say when they were kettling, I heard over the radio, they said, we don't have enough resources for mass arrest. That's what they were saying over the radio. Now, will they start having resources for mass arrest coming up?
That's where they're probably spending, they're probably spending today figuring out, all right, how are we gonna, where are the buses coming from?
I have a feeling.
Park them, that kind of thing.
I
Where are we
think
gonna kettle them to get them on the buses?
100%. 100%.
Whatever. I'll be wearing my press vest. So
yeah, and I gotta tell you, that's smart. Did you sign up for one of the press agencies, just a photographer press agency? It's like $100.
I did actually join NPPA, but they never gave me a badge and they never got back to me.
Don't you have to print it out yourself? I think the NPPA.
Wait, if you do, that would be hilarious because that would be
No,
I had it this whole time. So I'll check.
You gotta literally make your own badge. I'm not even joking.
All right. Well,
Or at least that's how they used to do it as of a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Damn, we were way off. I don't know why I walked all the way over here. We walked up that hill for no reason.
Yeah, that press vest is just I just got a cheap airsoft vest with
Well,
some Velcro on it.
My beef is you shouldn't actually have to show press credentials because the LAPD determined after the Echo Park mass arrests, including journalists, like Kay Cagle was arrested for a short period of time, then released. Sean, I think Lex got out of there in time. I got arrested. Quealy, I think, got arrested in the LA Times. And at the after action said, Chief Moore determined that from here on out, you don't actually have to have press credentials. All you have to do is self-identify as a member of the press.
Yeah.
That's all. And so I take offense to the fact that they start talking about credentials because then we're pushing the standards back, you know? Yeah. Anybody can do an act of journalist, doesn't mean you actually have to be a journalist. Right here.
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, it's just the two criteria is you're collecting information, the public interest to disseminate to the public.
Right.
And the second is editorial independence. You're not people don't pay you to come and photograph something for them.
Well, I think the only thing is they don't want you mixing. If you're going to be at an event, are you going to be a protester or are you going to be a journalist?
Yeah.
So if you start doing a lot of protesting in the last moment, say I'm doing an act of journalism, there's a gray area there too. Like an example I use, that young girl who filmed George Floyd's death, that was an active journalism. Now she may not be a journalist, but that was definitely active journalism, and she should have, at that moment, while she was collecting that information, been able to be given the same rights as any other journalist. Can't believe we walked all the way over there. We're like one block north of the LAPD headquarters.
We took a scenic route.
Yeah, we did.
Are we actually going to be allowed inside, or is this just going to be people gathering?
Oh yeah, we'll be able to, unless the courtroom is full, and there is a chance of that.
Yeah.
But unless it's full, we should be able to go in. All right, guys, I'm cutting it off. Be back on in a little while.